Systems shouldn't get in our way. They should help us do our job, but learning those tools can feel heavier than it should. Too many topics, too many best practices, especially in the ever-changing Atlassian ecosystem. Not here. You're tuned in to the only frequency that doesn't crash your spirits or your Jira board. Atlassian Learning Simplified. Welcome to Hean.tech. Hean.tech for your learning needs. Hean.tech. Less noise, more clarity. Hean.tech. Fix the system, fix the flow. Hean.tech. Ready, let's go!
All right, folks, I never get bored of that. A huge shout out to my friend Sajit for putting that intro together for me. And welcome to this ACA-910 mega session. So I think I got the right one. Yep. I'm doing this because this particular Atlassian certification is being retired. So I'll talk a little bit about the certification, and then we're going to cover everything about the exam. I've got some slide decks. We're going to do some live demos. I'll be taking a break every hour or so. So those will be planned scheduled breaks at the top of each hour. But make sure you've got a paper and pen. Make sure you've got your cup of tea, etc. This is being recorded on YouTube, so it'll always be available. And otherwise, we're going to jump into it. I'm going to start by talking about the exam. And I've got a quick poll to put up here. Do you intend on earning the ACA-910? And a quick call out, yes. You do not have to take the exam to benefit from this. You'll see me do polls on the screen. To respond, just do a 1 or a 2 in the chat. And that's how you can respond. So just please use that. And I'll put these up from time to time just to keep you all engaged. But please use the chat, use the interactions, anything else you've got to get this knowledge. I want to help you all out. I will point out, if you want to earn this certification, you'll have to take it, I think, by June, mid-June. I don't have an exact date. Welcome, Justin. Huge shout out to Justin, one of my channel members, helps support me directly. And I'll talk about how this works. Carlos, thank you for that. My friend Sajit made it. He's a wizard at this kind of stuff. He has his own album about Agile and workplace stuff. Amazing guy and a good friend. Okay. We are going to pop over quickly, though, and talk about what this certification is. Now, the ACA-910, I'm just going to Atlassian's community, and I'll put this link in the chat, community.atlassian.com. And if you look under credentials, you'll get this big old list of credentials. We're looking under ACH right here. Now, this is every associate level certification. Generally, folks who achieve these have 6 to 12 months experience. In addition to the theoretical knowledge we're going to go over, you do need hands-on experience. So if you are new to Jira and want to earn this, please practice getting hands-on. I will show you momentarily how to get a free instance to play in. This is the one we're looking at, ITSM with JSM, Jira Service Management Foundations. This is kind of unique in Atlassian certifications right now, where the focus isn't just Atlassian's product. It's also this concept of information technology service management, or ITSM. So it blends in more than just, how do the buttons work? It's going to talk about what the concepts behind information technology service management are. And this is why I'm doing this. The certification is being retired. So if you don't earn it by mid-June, and I don't know the exact date, you can never get the certification again. If you earn it, it is good for 2 years, so it'll be valid for 2 years. That's just something good to know. And this is a list of all that it covers. So the first thing to consider is, why are you here with me? I'm going to put up a new poll. Why are you interested in this topic or in this exam? Professional growth, skill building. There's no wrong reason to want to do this. But understanding why you want to do this is very helpful, especially if we don't have a lot of time, right? If we only have 2 weeks to earn the certification, we have to have a good driving force. So taking a look at this will tell us everything we're going to get out of it. It's going to be foundational concepts on ITSM and then how Jira supports those things. Now, this is good for any service desk agent, a person responsible for working on tickets, but also folks like help desk managers, the folks who manage those teams, because they'll help. Hey, Carlos, congratulations. That's amazing. That's the ACA-910 is the name of the Confluence Essentials. I'm glad that worked, and I'll talk more about other ways I can support learners as we go. But yes, this one is being retired. And can I do a little, someone do like the little hooray party emojis in the chat? I don't know if I could do it from my side very easily. But congratulations on your success. Now, this is being retired. Atlassian does a lot of work to maintain its certifications. I'm on the group that helps rewrite them, for example. But sometimes they also decide like, hey, this doesn't fit in anymore with what we need to do, which is why this one might be cycled out. For the exam, 30% of it is around ITSM and 70% is around Jira. Now, this is interesting because you have to get 72% to pass. So even if you're a Jira super expert, that is not enough to pass this exam. You have to have at least some of the ITSM. That said, if you're already familiar with Jira, you'll probably pick up the ITSM stuff pretty quickly. If y'all are joining me on the vertical stream, I do it on YouTube vertical as well. Welcome. We're talking about the ACA-910, a certification offered by Atlassian. Again, it's good for 12 months. Now, it does cost $100. So there is one resource I can share in here. I have a course for this over on my site. And what I've done is because this exam is being retired, I'm heavily discounting it. So you can come in here and just look for the 910. You'll get the whole course, all the same great content, and you get a voucher to take the exam. So I'll put this link in the chat. Again, it's valuable material. If you just want the material that will still be good without the exam, you have this option, which is only 15 bucks. There is another certification they are retiring. So I do want to share this, and that is the ACA-905. The board admin certification. I have a 3-hour mega study session on that on Friday. I'm bundling both for 45 bucks. So I'll put some links in the chat. If you want to purchase those, that's amazing. If not, this recording is free. I don't have companion courses for those two because I didn't do them when I had this platform. But if you want help preparing for them, definitely check out these sessions and feel free to reach out. I've got a Discord and WhatsApp community if you want, help practicing or more in-depth stuff. So just some other ways I can help you all out. But this is the exam, and make sure you understand like why you want to earn it, right? I started earning certifications because I learned by doing. I was never trained on ITSM or Jira. So the stuff I learned through painful experience. So I take these exams to fill out my skills, to learn the things that I just never tripped over. But this is our exam, and this is what we're going to spend the next almost 3 hours talking about. So we're going to go back and forth between slides where I explain concepts and ideas, and then Jira itself. These are the same slides I used in the prior version. I did this over a series of 4 or 5 weeks. The good news is, even though Jira is changing, the exam itself hasn't been rewritten. So this means we're going to have some differences. For example, automation rules are now called automation flows, but the exam was written when it was called automation rules. So there will be some differences. So just keep in mind when you sit the exam, it's as of the date the exam was written. I'll do my best to point those things out. But if you're using Jira right now for your work or something, it might look slightly different. The other thing I can show you, you can get a free copy of Jira. And I'll walk you through quickly how to do that. I'll put this link in the chat. And that will take you right to this page. If you click Get It Now, this will get you a free version of Jira. Keep in mind, there is no... I need the other one, though. I need Jira Service Management, don't I? And they changed it a little. I can no longer get just Jira Service Management. Here we go. It's this one. So one of the differences that won't be on the exam, Jira Service Management is part of the service collection now. So you'll see it listed in here along with other stuff. You still have the free Get It Now, though. So we'll click on that. At the bottom, you want to do create a new workspace and then start a new workspace. Be very, very careful about leaving this and clicking continue. This will add Jira Service Management to an existing instance. You may not want that. So unless you know exactly what that means, just click start a new workspace and give it some kind of name. ACA-910 study or something. Oh, those links, Justin, go to the Jira Service Management where you can get a free copy of Jira. I'll send the study bundle in just a minute. But that's if you need it to study. If you have it for work, you could probably follow along in there fairly safely. Okay, that's our setup. Now we're going to jump in and actually start studying. Oops, I want to hide that. I want to stop this. Looks like about half of us for professional growth, the rest skill buildings and just curious. All right. I forgot to introduce myself. My name is Rob. I've been using Atlassian products for about 13 years. So since about 2013. And again, I was never trained, which is why I do these things. My background is in IT project management. So I was using information technology service management, ITSM, for a number of years before anyone told me what it was. So that's my background. I've done this, again, professionally. I've been hands-on with it. I've been that person who, manages the help desk course bundle. And now I get to teach folks on how it works, which is great. Please use the chat. If you're on YouTube, it looks something like this. Drop your questions in. I will do my best to answer questions as we go. The QR code over my head goes to the course bundle. I will point out you have to use the exam voucher and take the exam before they retire the exam. I don't have an exact date for the 910 on that, so I'd recommend scheduling it like right now while I'm talking in the next week to make sure you can get it in. But if the exam is retired before you take it, obviously there's no exam. So please use the chat. If you're in Twitch, welcome. If you're in the vertical live stream or if you're in LinkedIn, please use the commenting features in those platforms. I'll get your questions and I'll do my best to answer them as we go. Okay, so we're going to start out with the ITSM part. Just what is Information Technology Service Management? It's also called ESM. Enterprise Service Management is a term you'll see. That term ESM is becoming more common, just as more non-IT groups begin trying to figure out how do we provide service management. My background is helping HR, human resources teams, and that made me use more ESM. The concepts are generally the same. ITSM, you'll see us talking about things like incidents and outages. Carlos has a great question. I have some, some test data I can go pull out and I'll share it as a Google CSV. That's a great call out though. Some of my courses included, I don't know if the two I linked did. So as I'm talking about ITSM, I'll go grab that for you. So we'll be talking about just what ITSM is, and then this thing called ITIL, which is a system agnostic framework for using ITSM. I forget what it stands for. It's like Information Technology Infrastructure Library. I think I got that right. So just think of the questions you have, drop them in that chat. This is 30% of our exam. So we have to get at least one of these questions right and every question right on Jira Service Management to be successful. Don't worry, I'm sure you all can do it. But this is 30% of the exam. I spoke about the why, a little bit less important because of our timeline, but make sure you know that. That'll motivate you after today's session, which is 3 hours. Hopefully you can join me for the whole time or catch the recording. You're going to have to study. You're going to have to put in time to go practice, to use that free link or to use this placeholder data I'll share with you. Quick question though, does anyone use ITSM? Like in their job? Carlos, not an interruption at all. I'm here to, again, help you learn. So while you're contemplating that, I'm going to go try and find that information. And again, we typically only see this in information technology teams or technical teams, but it can be used for anyone or any team can benefit from doing this. Trying to find, is it this one? It is not that one. Now, it stands for Information Technology Service Management, and it's essentially anything that we use to support IT services. This could include processes. How do we move things through things? Or what activities do we perform? I guess I'm using it without knowing anything about it. That was my experience. Justin is trying to use it. What's that little green guy say? There is no try. Garan, of course you use it. Yeah, and this is I'm kind of laughing, but this is the funny thing, right? Like we all probably use ITSM, even if we're not in IT, some aspect of it, because it's really about understanding how do we best support our teams and get them what they need. Or how do we best manage all the incoming requests we have to make sure we can support our customers, whether they're internal or external. So there's a couple of contexts or a couple of concepts we just have to understand. Like, what is a service? It's anything IT does, basically. Anything IT can do to support an org or a team. So just list out some services. What are some examples of services? I'm still looking for that link. I'll try one more spot to see if I can find it. But start listing out services you think IT might provide or support or do. And there's loads of examples. I can look to it in here. And while you are burying me in those, I'm going to go find my placeholder data. I think it was in the JQL course. Yes. All right. I'll have a link in just a minute. Dink. If I can make my computer work. There we go. All right. This link should allow you to make a copy of a Google Sheet that you can download as a CSV. It should be placeholder data. It's called JQL, but it should work. And then I can show us at the end how to upload that thing. What's an example of a service? A service providing exchange rates. Your team may manage a system that provides exchange rates for currency. Yes. Now, there's tons of examples. A service could be provisioning hardware. There's a new hire, and you have to make sure they get the right laptop with the right apps installed on it. That's a service. That's kind of the most stereotypical one. Resetting a password. You have a team member who doesn't know how to log in. They lock themselves out. You have to go unlock the account. That is a service. So there's all these different things IT can do. These are not all of them. These are just some examples. Managing access, ensuring the appropriate people have the right permissions at the right time. All examples of services, and by no means the only services that can happen. But it's really anything that your team does to support some other team. Maintaining a server, installing a printer, refilling the toner in the printer, all of those things that IT does. And again, if you're in IT, you are doing some kind of service, whether or not you know it. So in some way, you are already engaging in ITSM, even if there's no official ITSM. So those are examples of services. Now, there's three main principles that we have in ITSM that we can apply. We want to be collecting feedback on how things are going. We'll dig into more of these each. And then we need to establish a vision. And then it's standardize, standardize, standardize. These three steps will help a team understand, like, what should they be doing? What can it look like? And then improve it and spread it throughout the organization. Because you don't want to be doing something one way for one group and some totally different way for another group. Sometimes there's arguments. Maybe you treat executives slightly differently than the rest of humanity. But in general, you go collect feedback. What should we be doing and how? Someone determines, hey, here's how we're going to do that. And then you make that the standard. Everyone knows what to expect when they put in that ticket. So feedback is important. It figures out what your customers need. Some of this can be obvious, right? Oh, we have to give people laptops. That's a need. Other parts might not be so obvious, though. Those laptops have to have a certain docking station, or the specific monitor, has to meet these specific specifications for my graphic design team, whatever they are. Your feedback does involve the customer. And depending on how you're set up, the customer could be an end user. The customer could be, the director of a team you're supporting. It could be the general employee base. Whoever it is, it's going to involve going to the customer and saying, hey, what do you need us to help you do? Or, customer, what do you do on a regular basis? And let's see how we can support that. This is also an active process. This is not a one-time thing. This is a continual, constantly asking your customer, what's going on? How can we do better? How did this change go? What do you think of this service we provide? Because this is your input. This is what gives you the fuel to go provide better service. Next, we have establishing the vision. I like this guy with a Microsoft HoloLens, but it's a goal to move towards. Right? When we think of what does a team do, we have to have some end goal. Hey, we want our support to be seamless so people can just do their job. Good vision. We want to ensure the entire company is properly provisioned for this new software deployment. Good vision. That vision then allows the teams working in IT or whoever you're working with to make informed decisions about what to do next. They can look at the vision that's been defined and say, oh, how is what I am doing supporting that vision? Ensuring our whole team can just get what they need to do done without having to struggle with the system or whatever the vision is. This is something many groups I have worked at don't do. They just kind of assume IT will do stuff. But really having someone in the department, could be your IT team leader, figure out what is the goal we all want to hit. That then lets everyone else look at that goal and figure out on a day-to-day basis, how do we hit it? And then we standardize. Once we know what the vision is and we know what our customer needs, we build repeatable processes that can just endlessly go and go and go. And IT is typically an operation. It's the same set of things over and over and over. And by standardizing it, we reduce confusion and we remove cowbit, whatever that is. Help me define this word, folks, because help me define cowbit. Whenever I make typos like this, I know my friend Kythra is yelling at me through the monitor, but also I need your help making up a definition for this word that I invented. Standardization is good both for you on the IT team, because it means you'll just know, oh, here's what I do when I get this kind of ticket, or here's what I do when this thing happens. It's also good for your customers, though, because they know what to expect. They know when they put in a ticket that they'll get a response within an hour. They know that when their new hire gets that laptop, it will include all the software they need. They know that if a system crashes, you'll be, calling the right people and responding. So this standardization is good both for internal, but also for external, the customers, the people relying on you. All right. Now here's a fun question. How many IT practices, ITSM practices can y'all name? I like Justin's definition. Certain doubt, count. Oh no. I need to build a phrase book. All right. And a quick reminder, folks, if you like this, please hit like and subscribe. I've got a little thing that can pop up. Where's my little thing that can pop up? Under here? Yeah, here we go. Is it not here? I thought I had one. Oh, I have it at a different stream. Anyway, hit the little like button if you're liking this stream. It helps other people find it, and the easiest way to support me. I have like backgrounds. That looks a bit better. Yeah, let's go with that. So IT practices. Now, services are the things we're doing. IT practices are going to be the activities that help us deliver that service. The things we are doing to make sure that, hey, we can get the thing done. An activity could be making clay pottery like this person. In ITSM, though, we've got incident management. So incident management is an unplanned interruption in a service. When we think of an organization claiming that they have, I'll say like 5 nines reliability, that means their service is up for 99.999% of the time. That does not count a planned maintenance window. So an incident is an unplanned interruption in some kind of service. The goal of IT at this point is to quickly restore the service. Maybe users can't log in. Someone tripped over a power cable somewhere. You got to quickly get it back up and running. So incident management is the practice of figuring out, okay, how do we identify the incident? How do we quickly analyze what's going on? And then how do we resolve it as fast as we can? We've also got service management. This is what most people think of when they think of IT. This is going to be delivering the value to the customers. Typically, this is through some kind of request intake, a ticket, and this is what we'll get to when we talk about Jira. And this is what we'll talk a lot about when we talk about Jira. But this is when you call the support desk and they help you unlock your phone. This is service management. Most people, most of the time, are probably thinking of this when they think of IT. Again, that's the nice person who gets you a new computer or fixes the problem. It does not only have to be that, though. It's any way we deliver value to a customer. We've also got problem management. So the incident is the unplanned interruption. The website went offline. The problem is what caused that incident. So the problem could be, again, someone unplugs a computer and the website shuts down. So incident management is just fix the problem. Get it up and running, go. Problem management is systematically understanding what the problem was, so next time it never happens again. Or it's helping identify and isolate problems before they happen so they don't become incidents. So it's both, it can be reactive. Hey, an incident happened. Let's go figure out why. But it's also proactive. Let's keep an eyeball out for things we know that could break. You might argue that something like preventative maintenance almost falls under this umbrella, taking your servers offline to update them, necessary so you don't get hacked. But it can also be that more proactive talking to experts, having a red team attack, finding weaknesses, things like that. We've also got change management. Change management for me is another area of IT that I think everyone needs to do a lot more in. Anytime something changes, we want to minimize the disruption. You have to change out someone's laptop. Can you give them a loaner for a few days while you get them the new hardware? You have to upgrade a service. Maybe you're moving from data center to cloud in Jira, and you want to make sure people know what's going on. You have to train them. So all these different ways we have of supporting our team by training and proactively going in to let them know what's going on falls under change management. And the intention is nobody notices a difference. They just log in and everything works and they know what to do and they have all their troubleshooting guides. That's the goal of change management. Again, frequently it could be done a lot better. We also have asset management, another area that is stereotypical in IT. Hey, we've got all these computers lying around. How do we know which ones are ours or where they are? An asset, though, is anything of value. It doesn't have to be a stack of laptops. It could be a building. It could be cars. It could be individuals. It could be something else. It could be a component in a server. Anything that you place value on is an asset. Jira specifically has an assets app. Actually, it's not even in Jira anymore. It's now called a platform app. And that's one difference in the exam. When the exam was written, assets were part of Jira Service Management. Now they are a separate application. So just a heads up, the concepts are all the same. They've just moved where it lives. Yeah, but assets exist outside of Jira Service Management today. The goal with asset management is just to track and maintain all of your assets, just to know where everything is and to have all the information about it. So you can quickly tell an auditor how many laptops have been deployed. You can quickly go in and review which servers need to be upgraded with this new fill in the blank component and which ones don't. Assets can also be people. I've seen groups use the assets module to track human capital, so the individuals working there. For those of you joining us on the live stream, welcome. We are talking about the ACA-910. This is an Atlassian certification specifically around information technology service management and Jira Service Management. This exam is also disappearing sometime in June, so we're covering all of it. Right now, we're talking about ITSM. Knowledge management, though, is also part of ITSM. It's anything that your team has learned about it. The goal with knowledge management is just making sure people can easily find all of that information, and that you're also constantly recording and writing things down. This is something I am bad at, despite the fact that I train on systems designed to do this. As we learn things about how our systems are set up, about our users, about our responses, we need to be proactively documenting that and making sure people have access to it. There's this term tribal knowledge. Someone is just all in someone's head, and then if they leave the company, you've got problems. Knowledge management works towards reducing that risk. I can't say eliminating because there's always something stuck in here, but we want to get it into the system so we can share it. Okay. I'm going to put a quick poll. I'm curious how many of those areas folks knew. How many of those ITSM practices were you familiar with? And there's 5, I think. There'll be a poll that'll pop up. Use 1, 2, 3, or 4 in the chat just to respond. So how many of these ITSM practice areas were you familiar with? Non? Come on, Rob. I gotta fire my... Well, I can't change it now, folks. Your first option is non. It should be none. 1 to 2, 3 to 4, or 5 or more. And I'll see if I can rattle them all off. We've got incident management, problem management, service management, change management, asset management, knowledge management. I think I nailed it. Woo! Hey, Susan and Nicola both had 4. That's amazing. Before I built these decks, I did not know that there were that many. So this is a great example of I was exposed to something new when I went through this. I do hold the ITIL Foundation certification from years ago, so I was probably learned about it, but it fell out of my head. This diagram I found on Atlassian Learning, and it helps describe how Atlassian supports ITSM. Again, ITSM is not unique to Atlassian. It's a system agnostic, so it's not reliant on any one system or piece of software to work. But Atlassian's products do hook into all this. So if we start at planning, we've got Confluence. Confluence helps us plan things out. We can go in and make a whiteboard. We can document what we're learning. We can have a whole plan around rebuilding a Confluence space. How are we going to do that? What information do we have to gather or decisions we have to make? And then we go to build. And maybe we build in Jira. We have all of our tickets to track everything. Or maybe we use Bitbucket, Atlassian's code repository, to help with that. And then we deliver. So we've built the thing, we push it out the door, and then we're using service management to track it and make sure that it's deployed successfully. And also Bitbucket, we've got code updates and things. Then we're doing things like operating. We'll talk a little bit about OpsGenie, which I forget if they've rebranded or not, but this is our incident management. If a service goes offline, you can automatically get a phone call. We also have Statuspage, which I'll show us when we get hands-on, but this is the Christmas tree lights, the colorful lights on is a service up or down to let people go look things up. And then we've got just continual support. So this is one way to look at all of the Atlassian products and how they support ITSM. Again, it's not unique to Atlassian. However, all their products happen to provide support for it. Here's another fun question. How many steps are in the IT maturity model? Steps are in the IT maturity model. This is also something I did not know by the time when I was looking at this exam. And while you're all contemplating that, I'm going to drink some tea. It's now operations. Thank you, Justin. Kudos points to Justin. I don't know what those are and how I grant them, but you get 5. All right, folks. We're going to find out how many steps are in the maturity model. I don't think anyone is responding in chat, which is totally fine. All right. Now, this maturity model helps us understand where our organization is in developing ITSM and then what we do to improve. So far we've spoken about what is ITSM. You know, it's the service management. How does it map to Jira Service Management, et cetera? But now it's, okay, we want to use ITSM. What does that look like in our organization? So this is something we can take and just look at, and there's, you know, essentially a checklist that'll tell us, here's all the parts of it. Where are we? And then once we know where we are, we're able to figure out how do we go to the next level? How do we improve a little bit? It's not saying that any one of these is better than any other stage. And honestly, I've never worked anywhere that got all the way to the end of this maturity model, but it's a useful tool. So first, we just have initial. This is where many groups I worked at started. There is no process or very, very minimal. You have an IT team maybe, and people know, oh, I got to go to Rob and get my laptop, and that's about it. And they're also reactive. So they're not going out there and trying to figure out what do groups need and how do we support them. They're waiting for the group to come yell at them, hey, I need blank. I need better response times on the server or whatever. It's also low vis. Like, unless something bad is happening, no one knows you exist. And this makes sense, right? No one starts a company to provide IT support for themselves. Or if they do, I haven't met that group yet. Typically IT, you know, it's brought in because it's needed. We have to support them. And so this is where we start. You make your first IT hire and they kind of figure things out. The next step up is managed. So this is where you have some basic process in place. People know how to put in a ticket. Your agents know how to resolve the tickets, and it's independent. There's actually like an IT manager or director or team leader or something who's sitting there watching things to make sure it's operating properly. And there's a daily focus on reviewing and keeping things going. So this goes from reactive, like, hey, something happened, we should fix it, to we're monitoring things just for today, like right now. Better. It's a step in the right direction, right? Ideally, we want to be proactive and avoid faults before they happen. But at least now we've got some basic process. People know where to go to get help, and I've got someone operating it and managing things. This, depending on the company, can happen pretty quickly after they start at initial, just because people realize, hey, we got to do something. Then we get up to defined. Defined is when you actually have documented and defined processes. Public companies are probably at least here, at least in the United States, based on some mandatory reporting requirements like Sarbanes-Oxley requires you to document out various policies and processes. And there's a holistic look at it. You're not just looking at IT from the standpoint of, oh, it's only for IT. You're looking at it, how does it fit into the greater organization? How does what this IT team is doing help support the greater org and help propel it forward instead of just sitting there waiting for something to break? So again, this is where, in my mind, if it's a public organization in the US at least, it's at least at this tier because it has to be in order to go public. This might also be why at some pre-public companies, things are a bit harder to maintain and control because they don't have that outside pressure forcing them to do this. Again, usually groups aren't moving up this tier unless something forces them, whether it's a massive outage or some regulator. Next, we're standardized. Now, this isn't even the top. We went from, managed to defined. The next step up is standardization. The entire organization understands the processes on how you interact with IT or how incidents are handled. It also means that there is now continual improvement, and that's the focus of the team. You understand everything well enough that it's running very smoothly. The day-to-day operations are handled. Now you have time, effort, and energy to focus on how do we get better? How do we avoid that massive potential issue that could come down the pike? What can we do to provide even better service for the team? This is where many groups might cap out because the next step is optimizing, and that takes a lot more effort, energy. But this is where you're developing new ways of working. And you'll notice I have the same two guys here in the steel mill. I made a mistake with the image. But many groups might get to standardized. Everyone kind of understands how it works, and we're continually moving forward. I don't think I've been anywhere that's optimized or optimizing. You'll notice it's it's an active verb, right? I haven't gotten there. I'm continually working on improving. And I'm even innovating and making up new ways to support groups or new things and processes and technology I can do to support. So these levels, initial, managed, defined, standardized, optimizing, are the steps in ITSM. And again, many groups hang out down at the bottom. Okay, what does ITIL stand for? Wrong answers only. It's an acronym. I said it out loud earlier, but give me some incorrect answers for what ITIL is. I don't even know if I'm saying it right. Might be ITIL, depending on how I pronounce those letters. I'll give folks just a minute. While you're going, please hit the like button and subscribe. Easiest way to support me. And also drop another link to that retirement bundle. As a reminder, this certification is going away sometime in June. I don't have the exact date. Get your bundle here. This bundle includes both certifications that are disappearing soon. I've got another 3-hour study session on Friday for the 905. That's the board administrator. Same idea. We'll cover everything. All right, ITIL, the Information Technology Infrastructure Library. This is a, what's the right word? It's another product agnostic group. I don't know if they're a nonprofit or non-governmental, but they champion and figure out best practices and frameworks for IT teams to operate. So that's ITIL. They have their own separate series of certifications. Foundation is the start, but this gives you the structures and frameworks you can then implement. You might use Jira to support those. You might use other systems. Again, this is the concept and the how do we do this. Now, we'll see 5 different processes. I also borrowed this from our friends at Atlassian of your idle service strategy. I misspelled that. But we're designing our services. We're figuring out what should they look like. We're transitioning them into operations. We're continually improving them. And then we're figuring out a high-level strategy on what they can do and how they support the team. Again, the point of ITSM is not to just solve things for today, right now. Internal tasks inside lakes. Thank you, Justin, for actually coming up with a fun acronym. Incorrect, but I like it. It's a continual process. It isn't just take the ticket and answer it. It's how can I answer it better? How can I better support my team? How can I give them better service so the developers or the workers that I work with can do their job better, more effectively? Ideally, this is seamless, right? We don't want to have to think about, how do I work with IT? It should just happen. All right. These are all old slides. So I got to move to our next slide deck. That was basically everything on ITIL. Next up, we have our first jump into Jira. And I will skip all of the early slides. So again, that was 30% of the exam, just ITSM stuff. All those slides covered all those basics. Again, mainly understanding it's a maturity model. It's how do we move forward and progress in a upwards direction. But it's a structure. It's not telling you how to use Jira. It's just telling you here are the areas you need to focus on: knowledge management or incident response, etc. And then these things can work. Oh, sorry about that, Justin. I'm working on getting better internet in my office, so hopefully that will help with some of the possible hiccups folks are seeing. All right, on to Jira. How comfortable are you with Jira Service Management? ITIL. I tried it. It lagged. Nice. I like that one too. Nicola's very comfortable. Awesome. Jira Service Management was another system that I was thrown into. I had a job where I was, what did they call me? Like the people systems manager. Never used Jira Service Management before. Had to figure it out by doing. So we're going to start talking about what this system is, what it can help us do, and then how it supports that ITSM stuff. And I will remind folks, the exam is frozen in time about a year and a bit ago. So there will be features and things in Jira today that are different than what we see on the exam. I'll do my best to point them out. This is 70% of the exam, and this is where you can get the most hands-on by yourself. Again, you can get that free instance. I can remind folks how to get that and use that. Oh, it's not me, it's you. That's good to know, Justin. And welcome to folks joining us on the vertical stream or over in LinkedIn or other places. We're talking about the ACA-910, ITSM, and Jira Service Management fundamentals. Now we're jumping in again to the Jira Service Management side of the house. So JSM, or Jira Service Management, is Jira for service management. The Jira guy, welcome. For folks who don't know Rodney, he is a lot better at Jira than I am. I'm always happy when he shows up. No, I like that joke. Keep them coming, my friend. But hopefully Rodney can correct me when I get things wrong. So JSM is Jira. It is a separate app, and confusingly, like, it tends to show up everywhere Jira does, but it is separate. It has a different focus than Jira. Jira is more about work management in general. Jira Service Management is specifically about request management. So all the same concepts that you understand about Jira, like workflows and statuses, exist in JSM. It's just going to look different, and it has a different intended use or purpose. So just keep that in mind. If you've used any kind of Jira, you'll know most of this. But there are some features and functions within Jira Service Management that do not exist in regular Jira. I don't even know what to call it anymore. They used to call Jira software, but they dropped the software part. But it does have other special things that support just service management. Now, there's a lot of reasons to use it. And again, I'm assuming y'all don't know anything. You get a single source of truth, one place that a team can go, and that's where all of the information around what's going on with your service team. What requests are there? Which ones do we need to focus on? Who's reporting the most stuff? It also gives you a single point of collaboration. So if you have a team of more than one person, which most people do, this gives you one spot you can go work together. Now, this doesn't limit you just to working within Jira Service Management. You can have collaborators on the Jira side. So maybe you are responding to an incident where a website goes offline. You may have a backend developer working in Jira trying to fix bugs who can see your work and connect and give you information. This visibility is really important because typically the support teams know stuff that the development teams don't, and vice versa. And so having one spot to go to figure this out is very helpful. The configuration is also flexible. Like, as I show demos and as we use it, I'll demonstrate the ways that I happen to be comfortable with, but there's other ways it can work. Getting some very interesting questions in here in the chat. I don't know either, my friend. All right. So the source of truth. Jira Service Management should have all the information around a service. Now, we won't dig too deep into how to set up services in JSM. That's more on the admin side. But in addition to collecting requests, we can also build out services inside Jira. So we can track how is a particular software service going or specific thing. This gives us one place we can go to look up the history of what's happened. Hey, we have one particular site that went offline. This happened 6 months ago when we made a configuration change. So in addition to recording the requests for help, I can also go see what has been impacted. And this gives me a lot of power. I can then go back over time and start to spot patterns or follow up or report out on things more easily. The collaboration, as I mentioned, is also really important. We can collaborate both internally. I can talk to other team members, but also people not on my team who are internal. I mentioned other developers. They can also comment on the ticket and share information. And I can, of course, talk to the customer. So I can work with different people within Jira Service Management to help solve whatever the problem is. Again, I need a new laptop. Oh, I need approval from somebody. Or, hey, we're out of stock. I have to go order more. I can do that all in one place. That makes it easier for me than having to run down different systems or different places. And again, the flexibility. We're mostly talking about it from the lens of IT, information technology, but I started using it as in human resources. Any group that needs to collect requests for help can benefit from it. For this exam, we're mostly focused on the IT standpoint, though, which makes sense because it has IT, information technology, service management. But don't let that limit your thinking. If your organization is using Jira Service Management, there could be other groups or teams that could benefit from it. I didn't cover licensing, and we don't have to understand it too much, but you only pay for the agents, the people working on tickets. Just a general question. How comfortable are you navigating Jira Service Management? And maybe I'll do just a general poll. How familiar are you with JSM? So a quick poll, answer 1, 2, or 3 in the chat. I'll just show it. Boop. A 1, you're very familiar with it. A 2, not so much, and a 3, just a little bit. This is entirely subjective, right? Like, it's for yourself. I say I should have done like a 4th one, a bit. And I say that because I'm constantly learning new ways it can be used, and there's constantly new stuff being added to it. But curious how familiar you all are. Wow, this is how old this is. It doesn't even have the new top bar. I'll just skip that. Here we go. So we now have this navigation. The screen just looks totally different. And again, something to keep in mind, like the exam's not going to ask you, where are these items? It's just going to refer to dashboards or SLAs, etc. So we don't have to worry about what the screen looked like back when they made the exam. But we do have to know, oh, what is a space? Where do I find them? What's a board? How do I put in a request? We'll talk more about this when we get hands-on. This is now the kind of standard setup we have across the board for all of Jira. Susan's comfortable. Rodney said no comment. Very comfortable. 1-1, also no comment. Rodney, welcome to the horizontal stream, by the way. Now, just some general tips and tricks. Exactly what you see in here will differ based on the space you're in. So this can be confusing for new users, but you'll notice that a lot of these options in the sidebar relate to those ITSM areas: incidents, operations, service requests. So you'll start to see some of these ITSM terms show up in Jira Service Management. They don't necessarily map one-to-one, but you'll start to see some fairly obvious connections between Jira Service Management and how it can work in ITSM, or how ITSM works in Jira Service Management. But each space that is set up in Jira, again, it's an old exam, they'll be called projects on the exam most likely, can have a different configuration of these features that are available to you. All right, we're going to pop into Jira. Here we are in Jira. I'll go to my app switcher. It does show up as a separate app, Jira Service Management. However, if you're just in regular Jira, you can look for more spaces, view all spaces, and look for anything that says service management. So this is another way to go find these. You can just click on them from here. Now I'll pick on engineering support. And very quick orientation along the top. We've got our top navigation, our search bar. We can create work items right from here. These will be called issues on the exam most likely. But then I've got all the navigation to this side. So this one has even change management is available. I've got incidents, service requests, and then all open tickets. The default from here is for the agent view. And we'll talk more about roles as we go, but the agent is the person working on tickets. So they're coming in here and responding to these different requests. Most agents, most of the time, are going to operate out of a queue. We'll talk more about queues as we go, but this is just a collection of tickets based on some criteria, and your admin will set these up. These are very powerful. You can just go into all open tickets, or they can be sorted by any other criteria, by department, by severity, by system, by service, almost anything at all. And then from here, I can just navigate around. An important concept that we'll talk about are customers. Customers are people who can put in tickets. So if you have customer access, you can add requests. So you can put in a request for help. These can also be made internally. Typically at an organization, everyone who works there is a customer. The other important difference between this and regular Jira are these channels. So we get a help desk portal. We'll talk a lot more about this as we go, but this is where we can go to put in tickets as a customer. I need help from the team. I come to the portal to put in the request. But this is Jira. Sounds like most of us are pretty familiar with it. A lot of us said very. Rodney had no comment, which is totally fair. So we're going to get back to our slides. Yep, and this is when the word issue was being replaced by work item. Now, a work item in Jira is just a bit of work you want to track. Did I get this right? Yeah, work types. All right. It could be anything, a bug. There's a bug, a story, a task, a feature. They tend to be pretty broad because they could represent a lot of different things. The thing to know about Jira is each work type will have a workflow connected to it. So that workflow will be a series of stages the ticket moves through: to do, in progress, done, open, analyzing, approved, deployed, completed, etc. The exact workflow will differ based on the work type and the organization, but it lets you classify your work. A request comes in. Is it a bug? Is it a feature request? Is it something else? Now, the difference Jira Service Management gives us is you can have things called request types. Request types are visible to the customer. So the customer doesn't see the work type. They'll see a request type. Oh, hardware request, report an incident, I don't know, password reset. Each work type can have 0, 1, or many request types tied to it. So you might have a work type just called request that has a specific generic workflow that all your requests follow. But then you might have 10 different request types that customers see. And so keep that in mind. As you're using Jira Service Management, your space admin can add, remove, or change the number of request types. Your space admin, though, can't make new work types. So the important difference there is the workflow is connected to the work type. Can't change that, but you can change the request types you have. And these allow us to organize incoming requests. We can see a list of some here. Every space or project in Jira can have different requests. So your IT team will have different requests than your HR team, for example. Each request type has one and only one work type, though. So I don't know what it is here, but I do know that request new software, this request type, must be connected to exactly one work type. Reporting a PEBGAC, that connects to one and only one work type. And that's, again, what drives the workflow and the statuses. Rodney, you break the curve when you join. How well do you know Jira? I'd say probably pretty well. I'm going to guess there, my friend. So we're just going to see this in action. We're going to pop back into Jira. I need to go find, maybe we'll go make a request. So I've got my portal. These are all the requests, or these are actually request groups or portal groups, but I'll open this up. And these are all the different things someone can request help with. Maybe I have a product enhancement. Great. So this allows me to guide the customer down some path. This helps me figure out what do they need. They can come in here, and then based on how it's set up, they'll see just a list of fields to fill out, things that the admin has determined we need. I need a new feature. All of these fields will then be set up by the admin. Business value, it's fun. I'm just making stuff up. And all of this information would come from the feedback I have either with customers or with my team on how do I best support them. We've got some kind of product enhancement. What information do we need to successfully work on this request? And there is a bit of like push and pull. You want to ask enough information of customers that they can tell you what they want and you can help them, but not so much that, they get frustrated or annoyed. But once I submit this, Jira is going to make a request. The customer will see the request, this screen, and then our agents, the people working on the tickets, will see this screen. So this is the request for the agent, the person working on the ticket. It's all the same information, just showed differently. One thing that I do a lot, which is bad, if I give this link to a customer, they can't open it. So I can always get back to the request just by clicking on this little guy. And that will let me see exactly what the customer sees. And depending on how it's set up, it could be different. But you'll notice that the agent has a slightly different view. It helps focus them on their work, whereas what the customer see focuses them on just what was the request. Depending on your setup, there'll be more or less fields that show up in these things, and more or less information can be exposed to the customer. But we have these two sides of the request, the customer view and the agent view. And just keep in mind that they see different stuff, because we expect the customer just to know what's going on, but the agent has to know a lot more about it so they can actually do the job. We'll come back to these screens as we go. All right. Just a quick reminder on how Jira is organized. We have things called spaces or projects, depending on when you're looking at Jira. That's just a collection of work items. So you'll have different spaces, typically broken down by team or product area or process. IT support might have a space for all the stuff around IT support. Human resources may have a space around all the human resources requests, for example. No wrong way to do it as long as you're consistent. Now, the customer doesn't see the space really. The customer will see the portal, and that's where they can go to put in requests. There's a broader help center, but for our exam, each Jira Service Management space has one portal where a customer can go and put in requests. They can see a menu of items, fill in fields, and then submit the request to go get help. Then within that, we have our work items. This is what the agent looks at, and this is just an individual unit of work. Depending on how you're set up, this will be different things. Depending on how you're configured, this will have different fields and information available. But keep in mind, the agent will see a lot more than the customer will. Because again, they have to work on the ticket. They'll have more data, more information. The customer, though, does see that request. When they go to put it in, it's what the customer sees, how the work item is represented to the customer. Added a Q to that one. The customer can go back to that. They can comment, and they can make some minor modifications to it. Depending on your setup, it is possible for a customer to move tickets through a workflow, for example. We can talk a little bit about that as we go, but keep in mind what the customer sees can be tailored to them. So your admin can go in and hide or remove fields or change the names of fields, even for the customer. Maybe you don't want summary. Maybe you want something a little more descriptive on the customer side. You can do that. Now, the next thing we have in Jira, I briefly mentioned these are queues. These are just collections of work items, and they help the agent focus. It gives the agent a list of things they should work on next. After you complete the first ticket, go to the next one. Now, they're tailored by a space administrator, the person who configures and manages the space in Jira. So the agent can't change how they work, but the agent can go in and just see what's going on. They can also filter through them, and they can sort them. So agents are empowered using these things to go figure things out. Justin's saying, I was talking about required fields in my earlier training. I have a lot of my Jira Service Management forms. Yes. This topic relates more to the admin side, but we do have some options, again, for displaying fields to customers, but that's done by our admin. So as the agent, we just have to understand when the customer's looking at their request, they might see different names of fields than when I go in, because I see the field name. The customer sees what's called a display name. Instead of summary, it's something like, how can we help you today? A little bit more friendly. Do I have any more? Nope. All right. So again, this is our work item, the individual unit of work I'm working on. It has a work type, a system service request with approvals. Amazing. That's connected to a request that was submitted by a customer. In this case, Robert Hean. It is possible to be both an agent and a customer, I'll point out. The role can be the same person. This was my case when I was working with the HR team. I would put in a ticket and I would see both sides of it. In some cases, customers can change the status. You can also allow customers to cancel them, for example, and allow customers to share it or add other participants to this, maybe a manager, maybe a teammate, so they can see what's going on with their request as well. Whew. All right, folks. we are just at time for our first break. What questions do y'all have, if any? I think all this, is placeholder. We've covered so far 30% of the exam on the ITSM side and a little bit on the Jira side. But before I jump into our third chunk, we might be done in 2 hours instead of 3. I can go slower. Before we jump into this, any questions before I take a quick break, and then I'll come right back. I need to see if I have a timer I can throw up here. I cannot. I have background music. Oh, I've got a cute little be right back thing. All right, folks. I'm going to quickly grab some more water. Please take a stretch break. Grab your notepads, all that if you need to. I will come back in 5 minutes. I can throw a banner up here. A short break. Back soon. Oh, hey, I do have a timer. Look at that. Oh. Never mind. I'll have it scrolling. What does this look like? Oh, there we go. All right, folks. I'll be back in just a few minutes. Please don't go anywhere. Grab a coffee. I'll see you in just a second. All right, and we're back, folks. How many lows would Rob Lowe rob if Rob Lowe did Rob Lowe's? 3. Exactly 3. Okay. Give folks just a minute to come on back. Where did it? There it is. Okay, welcome back, folks. We are back into the ACA-910. We're talking about the 70% of the exam that relates to agents. Important thing to keep in mind, again, this exam is being retired in June. That's all the information we have. They don't tell us when yet. I'll see if I can get a date out of Atlassian, but it just says it will be retired in June, and a new certificate will replace it. The certificate means, I think, that a new ACH will be made. They have Atlassian certificate holders, but we can still earn this exam, and that's what we're doing now. We're going through all the topics. I also have a course up there. I have a course bundle that includes 2 exams that are being retired. If you want to earn them, you do have to take the exam though before they get rid of it. So if you purchase that bundle, just keep in mind you got to take the exam. If the exam gets retired, you won't be able to use the certificate anymore. Okay. Nope, wrong way. This way. All right. So now we're going to dig into grouping work. So more of the mechanics of Jira, so to speak, including things like workflows, but then also customer features, reports, and what assets are. We don't have to know too much about assets. We have to know kind of that they exist. And again, it is one of the aspects of ITSM, asset management. Stereotypically, it's going to be things like computers, but it could be anything of value you want to track. So just keep that in mind. All right. And again, we're on that 70% of the exam. You do have to know some ITSM as a reminder. 30% of the exam is ITSM, and you need 72% to pass. Go through all of our why. All right. This may all be different in Jira Service Management now. And I'm pointing this out because these work categories used to be under, I think it was the features menu for a space administrator. And I don't know if that menu does this anymore. So we're going to go in and learn together. But each of these work categories loosely maps to an ITSM category. Service requests, incident management, problem management, etc. So just keep in mind, as you see these, they loosely map to what ITSM has. Now, turning these on or off in a space would have turned specific features on or off. For example, incident management needs services, on-call, and alerts to be also turned on. If I turn on service request management, that will enable certain request types to be available or other certain features. So as I start flipping these switches as an admin, I will directly impact what shows up for my team. And I can also go choose to turn them off at some point. So people may also disable them, and then you lose these features. Now, first up is incident management. Keep in mind that some of the features I'll be talking about are only available on the paid tiers. So if you're following along in a free one, the exact categories you see might be different, or the exact features you have might differ slightly. But we'll cover them all here. And again, when we get hands-on, they're going to look a little bit different. We're going to have a different set, likely a different set of settings, just because Jira has evolved in the past 2 years, year and a half since they made this exam. And another just practical thing to consider, each of these categories can be turned on or off in each space. So if you are working in multiple spaces, or you have a team that uses different spaces to categorize work, what they have available can be different. So you might see, or you might get frustrated and see frustration where features exist in one spot but not another. This would be why the space admin can control them. There is something that is still around called a portal group. Now, this is customer facing. So we'll jump back into our portal in a moment, but this allows us to take multiple request types and then group them together. So instead of seeing a list of 20 different things, a customer might go to a portal and see hardware requests, software requests, general questions, etc. When they click on hardware requests, it's a list of 3 different things: a new laptop, a new server, something else, accessories. So the portal groups are also maintained by our admins, but they allow us to guide the customer down a certain path, right? Someone comes to our portal, it should be very easy for them to figure out, where do I go next? Or I have got a specific question, where do I put it? The groupings help us do that, because sometimes the request type itself is too broad or isn't broad enough. So we help funnel them down to specifically the request type we want, or specifically the request type that'll help. These portal groups only exist on the portal. So if a request type is put into a portal group, it doesn't impact anything else. It's just visual for the customer. So it's not like it shows up in Jira query language or search or reporting. It only exists on the portal to help someone find, where should they go next? What is the bucket of work loosely that I want to go do? Now, an interesting thing about the portal groups, a single request can show up in multiple groups. For example, many teams will have a, ask a question, like a catch-all request. You can put that in every single group. You don't have to limit it just to one. And that can help. Again, if a customer clicks on the wrong group, it's fairly easy for them to back up, but maybe you have that catch-all in all of them, or you have similar ones in each, just so folks can easily find them. You want to make the experience as easy as you can. And thinking back to our ITSM model, the first thing we do is get feedback. We go talk to the team. So a great thing that teams can do is they can get a customer, put them in front of a computer and say, what do you think of these groups? Do they make sense to you, the customer? Because the grouping is not about the agents. It's not about the team. It's about the customer getting to the right spot. So this is a great example of just ask for feedback. Hey, hey, customer number 6, what do you think of this general bucket? Do these make sense to you, or should other things be in here? Now, queues are agent facing. They display tickets for agents. So whereas the portal is all customer facing and the portal groupings help them find the right request, the queues are just about feeding tickets to agents and making sure that agents know, what should I work on next? It's attempting to get rid of the gap of, I've got time, I don't know what to do, and having to search for a ticket. Instead, just crack open your queue and it's going to display, here's all the open tickets, or here are all the high criticality things, or here's everything that a certain executive has flagged as needing help. The queues will differ. Queues are space specific, and they're managed by the space administrator. So as an agent, I can't change them. I can filter them and kind of order them, but I can go to my admin. So I can provide internal feedback and say, hey, admin, it's really annoying that the queues are in this order, or that I don't have access to these particular things. Can you help me out? This is not the only way agents can see tickets, but it's one tool we have in Jira Service Management that we don't have in regular Jira to guide agents. Now, similar to request types, queues can be grouped. They're called priority groups. I don't know why the word priorities in there. I would just call them like groups. But the goal could be to have a group of queues that are higher priority. Look at these ones first before you go to other ones, just to help the team focus on the most important stuff. Typically, groups I've worked with, we've only had 1 or 2 queues because we were fairly smaller and a little bit more focused. But I could easily see on larger support teams having queues by region or other areas. Rodney, fake fact, in the US, queues are called lines. This is a multi-layer joke, folks. Localized in this context, you can actually in Jira change the verbiage used on the screen. So you can say if someone's logging in from the UK, spell queue differently, or use a different language entirely. In the US, we don't queue up for something, we line up for something. So I like this call out here, Rodney. I don't think it will automatically do that though, but maybe we should have an app that translates it. What do you think? All right, I digress. Okay, back in we go. A quick sip of tea. Quick reminder, folks, hit the thumbs up button down there and subscribe. Check out that QR code for a bundle of courses, and jump on in and join us in Discord and WhatsApp if you haven't, for continual chat and more great, amazing jokes by people like Rodney. And links are all right there. Oh, I went the wrong way. Whee! Okay, back to our portal. Now, the portal is part of a bigger organization called a help center. I don't use the help center all that much. I typically send people straight to the portal they should go to, but you can have a collection of portals. So you'll notice this looks a little bit more branded, a little bit more information. Each Jira Service Management space gets one portal. So those portals can be collected into a help center to better guide people to information. But once you get to the portal, you'll see those request groups. So there's one called common requests. Here's one called infrastructure and access, etc. What these are called is entirely up to the admin. So if I go back into Jira, I can go into my space settings, my 3 dots, space settings, and I am looking for request management. And then portal groups. So I can see here that this particular request is in 2 different portal groups. And they've changed where I set this up. Customers, channels and self-service, portal groups. There we go. So under channels and self-service now, apparently, there's a portal groups. And these are those same exact groups that we saw on the front end. Again, this only shows up here. This does not show up in searching in any kind of reporting. I can reorder them. I can rename them. I can also see what's in them. But I can add additional requests to this. So again, I might have ask a question in each of these just as a catch-all. Someone ends up there. They still need help. They don't want to get frustrated. Just ask a question, put it in. I cannot share requests across spaces, though. So the request is unique to the space. The portal is unique to the space. And the request groups are unique to the space. But this is how we can configure them. We can change the order of these, add or remove them. And if you have enough privilege, enough access, you can edit the request groups or request types. We won't get too much into that, though, because that's more of the space admin side of the house. If you are interested in the space admin side, I do have a course and full series recorded on YouTube as well. I'll go dig up a link. The designation is the ACP, Atlassian Certified Professional 420. And that covers Jira Service Management. And I'll put a quick link to that here. A lot more in depth, not so surprisingly. That link goes to a version that includes a exam voucher or promotion code. But these are the portal groups. Again, what the customer sees when they interact with the portal. Our queues are also managed by admins. And again, they show up here. There's a whole bunch of queues in this particular space. If I open any of them, good. We've got our request. I, as the agent, can't change the columns. I, as the agent, can't really do anything to the queue. I can filter. I've got different filtering options. And there is a board and calendar view just for the queue. This is new. This is not on the exam. But we can view the queue in different ways. The default is a list. And I believe a space admin can add additional views of the queue. So this is relatively new. I'm just used to looking at the list views. That's what you'll see me doing in these examples. But we've got a list here of all the different things in the queue. If you're joining us on the vertical, welcome. We are talking about the ACA-910, which is an Atlassian certification around ITSM and Jira Service Management. There is another feature that is new. This is not on the exam, but it's this triage button. This allows you to quickly edit multiple request types. It also uses Rovo to help guess at what it should be doing, so the AI tool. Just pointing it out that this exists, I could see this being very useful, though, in high volume environments. You come in and you quickly double check, should this be critical? I think it should be medium, and I'll assign it to, Rob right from here. You can then bulk update multiple tickets at a time. It's not, it's intended just for triage, like that first step of, oh, are we in the right bucket? And then helping other systems or other processes get it to the right person. Not on the exam, relatively new feature. It looks like it's still updating. There we go. But these are the queues. As the space admin, I can go in and change them. So under request management queues, these are all the queues that my agents could see. I can make new ones. I can group them. So I can make these priority groups. And I'll quickly add one just to give an example. Maybe call it high priority. I can now add some tickets or some queues to this group. And now when my agent goes back and takes a look, they're going to see slightly different grouping. I've got my high priority and then all the other ones. So you might choose priority queues based around location. Everyone in North America has these ones, a group called North America. Everyone in South America has a different one. You might choose to do it by group they support or some other attribute of the tickets. I had it open over here. But these are all the queues. And then again, admins can edit them. If you're an agent working on them, you have feedback for your admin, let them know. Go tell them, hey, it would be nice if these things looked different, or even if they were in a different order, because they're visually displayed just like this. And if the agents always have to scroll down to the bottom one, that's annoying. So agents, give feedback to your admins on how can you change the queues to be more supportive of your work. Was that everything? Queues, request types, request groups, portal. I think that was all that. All right. away we go. Jira workflows. I'm going to drop in another poll. How comfortable are you with Jira workflows? An important concept. We don't have to be super expert. I would say I'm a bit comfortable with them because I need more experience. Customers don't have to worry too much about this. The customer can be exposed to this. They'll see the status of the ticket, and they can be exposed to transitioning, moving it through the workflow. But really, the agents need to understand these workflows. Now, the important bit, I forgot to show the poll. There we go. For some reason, it defaults to hiding it. It's basically just the series of steps a work item moves through. Now, your workflow should mirror the agreed upon process things work. For example, in this one, I go from open to work in progress to done. The team should sit down and understand what all of that means. We should all agree, hey, when it's open, it means this specific thing. When it's in progress, it means something else. Justin is getting dangerous with them. Yes, that does make sense. Now, workflows are managed by a Jira administrator. So like kind of like the admin level of Jira itself. But we want these to support the process, and they should be fairly agnostic. I wouldn't, every space doesn't need its own set of workflows because the process for handling a bug should be pretty similar across teams. Now, I mentioned that these can be transitioned. So the lines you see between these boxes are transitions. So this is telling me the open status is where the ticket starts. And then a ticket in open could move to done, or it could move to in progress. Once it's in progress, it could go to done, it could go to pending, or it could go to open. So this visually shows me where the ticket can move. And it's showing me in which direction it can move. Once it's in done, it looks like it can go to reopened, but it couldn't go to open, for example. Customers can have the option of transitioning tickets. So they can see these. Customers can also be shown a different name of the status. So instead of them seeing open, we might call it like pending response from an agent, something that's a little bit more customer friendly. Now, the transitions are what let us move tickets between statuses. As agents, we have to understand what these are, as well as how they can restrict our ability to modify a ticket. Justin, I love the callback to Darkwing Duck. I don't think I've watched that show or thought about it in 20 years. If anyone else has seen Darkwing Duck in the chat, just give us a thumbs up or something. What was the other one? Tailspin? And that came after DuckTales, I think. Flashbacks. But these transitions are what allow us to move between statuses. The workflow is tied to the work type. So if I have a service request work type, that'll have one workflow. If I have an incident response work type, that'll have a different workflow. They can be the same, but they tend to differ because how we handle a service request should be different than an incident, than a bug, etc. So as an agent, I need to understand that as I'm working at different tickets, I'll see a different set of these options. So I need to understand what they mean and then also why they'll change. Very common for folks to get frustrated. Hey, why can't I mark this as done? It's in the wrong status. Okay. So I'll show you in a minute how we can figure out what the transitions are. Depending on your setup, the transition can also prompt for information. A screen can pop up asking you to fill in certain fields or to update something. So in addition to controlling where something is in the process, the transition can help us add and solicit information that will be beneficial for that. Now, again, all this should support our process. So before we build the workflow, we should be working with our team to understand what is the process for handling a bug or a hardware request, etc. Oh, Chippendales. Yep. Now, again, customers can see the transition. They'll see something like this. So that pending button would move the ticket into the pending status. I haven't worked anywhere where we really use this, and that's not saying it's a good, bad, or otherwise feature, just that I haven't worked at it too much. But we can allow the customer to maybe cancel a ticket. They realize they don't need it. You will probably have to tell customers they can do this. It's not obvious. When we go take a look at a request again, we'll see it, but it's those two arrows pointing in each direction. So it's not immediately obvious that customers have this ability to do something, and it also has to be explicitly set up. So your admin has to go in and like flip some switches to make that happen. But it's possible. And again, you can rename the status. So instead of calling it pending, you might call it like pending investigation or something that makes more sense to the customer. And I think I just lost power. Excuse me, folks. I'll be right back. I have to go flip a switch in a breaker. Please hold. Well, that was a fun adventure. I have an electrician coming out to help me out with this office, and a circuit breaker just tripped. I have it's called an uninterruptible power source, a UPS on my computer. All right. What was I talking about? Transitions. Yes. Customers can impact them. I personally haven't done this where I've worked, but it is a good option. There's another thing we can set up within the transition or within the workflow, and that's approvals. Now, this requires someone else to go push a button to say, yes, I approve. Oh, and I lost my screen share. Well, that's annoying. And we're back. Oh, it looks kind of like this, a little bit less blurry. I had to zoom in on the screenshot. But again, think of your process. You can set it up. So, hey, before we give the new hire a laptop, their manager has to approve it. Or maybe their manager's manager, depending on who put it in. This requires someone to click a button either on the request or in an email. And it's something else that our admins will set up. So this can pop up. This can cause tickets to get stuck. So just something to keep in mind. If you see something pending approval, hopefully your team has a good process. Again, thinking of our maturity model, hopefully we're up into managed or the one above that defined, where everyone knows, hey, I'm pending approval from Sally to approve this, and they haven't done it yet, so I can't progress the ticket. But this can show up in workflows, and it will show up on the request too. So when someone looks at it, it'll say pending approval. What Rodney is referring to, I'm teaching a kids martial arts camp next week, so I'll be a little bit less available. It'll be fun. It's my other hobby in addition to Jira and live streaming. If you're just joining us on the vertical stream, welcome. We are talking about the ACA-910, an Atlassian certification that's getting retired soon. The QR code up at the top goes to a course bundle where you'll get 2 courses for a very nice price. They're both being retired, so please go check that out. And also, folks, remember to hit the like and subscribe. I do this professionally, so any support you can throw my way is always appreciated, even if that support is jeering me on in the chat, Justin. Okay, another concept we have to understand is automations. When we think of operations, it's the same thing over and over. There's going to be a lot of things that we do that as humans we don't need to do. For example, maybe when tickets come in from a certain location, they automatically get assigned to a certain group of people. We can do that. Or maybe when a specific event occurs in the system, automatically email someone. When a service goes offline, let somebody know. These are simple examples. In general, anytime we're clicking a lot, there's an opportunity to automate. Now, space administrators can set up automations that can run to do things for you. So keep that in mind. As an agent, just keep an eye out for things you do repeatedly that annoy you. And then keep a list and talk to your space administrator about automating it. Because Jira can do a lot on our behalf. The biggest example I see in the service desk or in the ITSM is that auto assign. It can do a round robin assignment or make sure everyone has the same balance the ticket load. So a whole bunch of great things that can happen that I as a human don't have to worry about. The system can just make it happen for me. And I don't need your help yet. I need to show you what workflows are. So we're back in Jira and I need to go find a ticket. I'm going to go into my queues, all open tickets. All right. So we're going to take a look at the workflow. Good. This one needs an approver. But before I talk about what this means, we're just going to click up on this button. And this is the status it's currently in. So it's waiting for approval. And the only thing I can do to it is cancel it. So now I'll click View Workflow. And this will show me the diagram of the workflow. And there's a lot going on here. Tickets always start at the black circle. That's just the entry. When the ticket is created, it immediately goes into waiting for approval. Now I can put my mouse over these black lines. These black lines are the transitions. So waiting for approval has a transition to resolved, but that's if it gets declined. It has another transition to cancel request, and that's why I can cancel it. And it's got another transition to approved, waiting for support if someone approves it. The blue statuses just mean it's in progress. There's some kind of work being done. The gray statuses are to do, nothing happened yet. And the green ones are some kind of resolution, it's done. But here I can see once it gets to waiting for support, maybe I escalate it, or maybe I'm waiting for the customer. It's so close together, it's hard to see. I can set it in progress or pending status. I might cancel it. So this diagram shows me all of the statuses, the rectangle-ish shapes, and then all the transitions, the connections between all of those things. Hopefully they're not too complicated. This one has quite a bit. I'll come back to that comment, Ronnie. I like that. But this is how we can visually look at them. Again, every work type can have a different workflow. So as you're using Jira, you might start to realize, oh, some tickets don't need approval. They'll have a different workflow. Now, if I go back, this particular one needs an approver, which is great. Welcome, Kaithra. Good to see you, my friend. You've missed at least 2 horrifically bad typos. I, as the agent, can add an approver. And sometimes, now as the customer, I can see this is waiting for approval. So I can go back into the ticket as an agent and add an approver. Maybe I will approve it. Oh, no. And now we're seeing something fun. Because I'm the reporter, I don't get to approve it. I cannot approve my own ticket. Where is the reporter field hiding? Here we go. Let's make you Mitch. What I've done there is just change who the reporter is. So now Mitch put in the ticket, and now I can approve it because I'm an approver. If I approve it, it will move it in progress. If I decline it, it will resolve the ticket. So the approver then can take action. And now you'll notice the ticket changed. So that's how the workflow helps. I can click on the status to see all the statuses I could move it to now. I can view the whole workflow, but you'll notice I have more options. Again, it was approved. So now I can do different things with it than I could before. Again, that is defined by my Jira administrator. So the person who configures and maintains Jira for my organization would come in here and set up those workflows. The workflow should match something you can write down on paper and explain to the team. If you're an agent working on them and they're confusing, talk to your space admin, your team lead about it. There can be things you can do to change or update them or make it easier to use. But those are our workflows. And I'll see if I can. There's no way to go backwards. Nuts. All right. Boop-a-doop-a-doo. All right. The portal. Now, there's a stock portal that comes. Every space gets one portal, and you can customize it. All right, good. So there's things we can do to the portal and other ways we can intake requests. I'll come back to portal customization. I forgot I hid that question there. But when we think of putting in requests for help, almost every group wants to do email. Email drives me bonkers. There's only 3 things we can get from an email. And I'll put this question in chat real quick. From an email. There are 3 specific fields, maybe 4, depending on how you look at it. We get from an emailed in request. Can anyone name them all? There's 4 specific pieces of information. Justin, I wish I could turn off email intake. Every group I've worked at says, no, we absolutely have to have it. And then the challenges with it in Jira is the information you get is limited. I'll see if anyone can answer that question before I spoil it. And it also stuffs it into a single request type. So it makes it harder to headaches, problem, and spam. If those are fields in your instance, Rodney, then yes, you will get headaches, problem, and spam. But there's some challenges with email we'll get to. You can also integrate with chat, so Slack or Teams. Many groups want this because they think it's more frictionless, easier for people to put something in. It is easier for someone to put something in, and this may not be the best thing. So just please be aware that you will get a lot of tickets if you do Slack or chat. We can also, though, share articles. So when we think of our IT support, the first tier is a human. Tier 1 is usually triage. So Justin puts in a ticket, I as a human look at it, and I take some action. There's another tier of support we have, though, called tier 0. Now, tier 0 is deflection. No need for a ticket. One way we deflect the need for a ticket is we serve up help desk articles. In this screenshot, we're seeing someone typing in a ticket summary, the title of the ticket, and it's bringing up an article that might help them. Imagine it's like self-service. If someone doesn't know how to reset their password, they type in password reset and an article pops up. Here's how to do it. Oh, they can go do it themselves. They don't have to put in a ticket. So the goal with this and the suggested articles is to direct people to resources that they can use without having to put in a ticket. Because each ticket has to be looked at by a human. No other guesses on the email intake, folks? Justin, I find when email ingestion is turned on, it's the first place people put in tickets. They just don't go to the portal. Because it's so easy to email ithelp@company.com. And it's a lot more work to go find the portal and click 3 buttons. Now, there are also notifications that get sent out by Jira. So your space admin has some ability to control the customer notifications. These are by default sent out via email, but you can have other things like Slack send out notifications or messages. Your space admin can edit the content of the customer-facing notifications or even turn them off. So this is something I think space admin should always go do. The stock built-in generic ones aren't bad. We'll go take a look at them. But every organization has its own terminology, has its own tone and look and feel that should be used. Oh, interesting. Justin's got automations to help route and properly categorize his incoming emails. The 4 fields are going to be reporter. That's whoever sends the email. You've got the summary from the subject line. You've got the description, the body of the email, and any attachments. So the problem is with email, if I get an email ticket, I can't require fields. I can't ask for certain information. I'll just get the ticket, and then I got to go suss it all out. So a human's got to pull it apart or an automation or something. Yes, back to our notifications. Your space admin can change these. Always worthwhile to take a look at and to tweak them as you go. There's this concept too of customer satisfaction we'll see. This is the 5-star rating or 4-star rating you'll see. It's called CSAT. Someone gets an email after you close their request, and they're just asked, how is your service? 1 to 5. And depending on what they click, that gets you a rating. This is good feedback. This is something to keep an eyeball on, because when you're going through your tickets, you can start to see, oh, we're serving people better here, or we need to improve how we handle over there. It's just a good signal from your customer that, 1, they're paying attention. They actually click the rating, but 2, did they give you good info? So this is part of that model. Like, feedback's the first step, but we'll get continual input, hopefully, from our customers as they answer this. I'm throwing a lot at you, so I'm going to pop back into Jira. What were some of the things we spoke about? Notifications. I'm going to go into my space settings. And again, as an admin, I can do this. General agents can't, but just to show you, here's our customer satisfaction. Excuse me. It can be turned off. Oh, not what I wanted to go back. It can be turned off. There is a report available in Jira of the satisfaction scores. I don't have any in this demonstration instance, but your admin may choose to disable it. If it does go out, though, you'll just get an email basically with this. We can't tweak it too much. I can't change the ratings. I can't add the ratings, but we could change what's the question. So one source of information. I find not a lot of people respond to these things. So I always have it on just in case, but people tend to ignore the follow-up. Under notifications, I've got all of these customer notifications. So these are all configurable at the space level. As agents, we just need to know they get sent out. But here's an example of what gets sent by when a request is created. I also love some of the names that show up in the little sample. I think these are Star Wars. I don't know who the first two are, but this is what it will look like. I know depending on your comfort with these, they used to support HTML, but your admin can change who these go to, a little bit more information about them. This is something as an agent I just keep an eye out for. We can always make these more friendly. We can add more information. You can add links. You can add variables like the name of the person who did it, or the portal name, just to make it seem more useful to them. Here we go. Here's the HTML style and CSS. This stuff scares me because I don't know HTML that well, but you can get very detailed in how you choose to manage and maintain these. Again, usually worth the effort because it just looks a bit cleaner. It's a better experience for folks. And I just totally lost my train of thought. What else to talk about? Let me back up. Oh, suggested articles, right? This is also optional, setting up the articles. Yes, thank you. This is done, again, by the space admin. But in this case, there's an engineering support space in Confluence, Atlassian's knowledge management tool, where if I'm going to put in a ticket, there's a chance I might instead get an article. So I'm going to go put in a ticket and get engineering support. And this will usually show up when I'm typing in my summary. And I need to find something that will actually trigger this. Anything with bug. Now, this can be set up so specific request forms don't show or do show articles. So just be aware as an agent, it's optional. In this example, only report a bug is allowing suggestions right now. And it's only going to show suggestions with a label of bug. So a lot of this work depends on the setup, both in Jira and in other systems. So if you're using JSM and this isn't working, you might have to go talk to other teams. Here's bug. For example, whoever manages Confluence. Let's just type in bug and see what happens. There we go. And now I have examples. Now it's basically based on keywords. So this isn't using like an agent or an LLM to figure out what am I talking about. It's just saying, oh, the word bug is here. Hey, these have the word bug in them. Maybe that'll help you. So again, very dependent on how you've managed and structured Confluence and how you've managed and structured Jira Service Management to direct people to this to type in the right terms. But this is our ability to, include this information right here in the portal. So now I don't have to go put in a ticket. I can just click on this link and read on how to do the thing. These articles also appear for agents. I'll get rid of that. When I'm looking at tickets, I, as an agent, can browse help desk articles. It's on the right here under knowledge base. This will allow me to search through articles. So again, I'm working on this ticket. I got to figure out what's going on. I can quickly look up keywords or terms. Bug. Boig. Here's everything with bug in it, for example. All right. No questions so far. I'm going to keep on trucking. In addition, just the tickets, we also have these things called service level agreements, SLAs. These can be contractual. Maybe you have a customer where you agree, yes, we will respond in an hour. But basically, it's how long you have to do something. Typically, time to first response, TTFR, and time to resolution, TTR, are things that groups want to track. How long does it take us to do things? Admins configure these, and they're the big red angry box you'll see at the top. This means I went over my SLA, but it helps keep the team honest. It gives us something we can objectively look at and say, yeah, we said we would take an hour to reset your password, Justin, but it took us 4. Good and bad. It's oops, we went over, but also, hey, it's a signal. It's feedback. It's telling the team, hey, you have the support model, we can improve it. And here's where. Here are the SLAs we failed to meet. So, I typically tackle the tickets that are about to expire first, but agents will see this. Customers do not see SLAs. So they might be told or be aware that SLAs are a thing, but a customer isn't going to see this big ticking clock. It's going to be on the agent side. SLAs can also be tweaked. Different teams or different types of tickets can have different SLAs. For example, maybe your team works Tuesday to Saturday. They have Sunday, Monday off. That can be changed. Your space admin handles all of that. So if you start to see SLAs misbehaving, you talk to the space admin, but mainly wanting to keep track of those SLAs that are about to breach their goal or about to exceed the amount of time you get. Queues are typically designed around these as well. So I know as an agent, when I go into a queue, I can at least see the SLA time remaining and then filter by that. So one of the first things I do when I get to a queue is I look for an SLA column and I click on it until it's filtered to the one that's going to expire the soonest. SLAs can also be named almost anything. So it might not be clear if a field is an SLA or not. Look for something that looks like this. It'll have a date and a time and be a color. If it's red, that means you went over. But that's a clear indication you're staring at an SLA. Oh, excuse me. And back into SLAs. Here they are up in the top right. You'll notice that one has a paused icon and one has a little green check. So this is telling me there's an SLA called time to first response. I have 4 hours to do that. And if I put my cursor over this, I'll see when I did it. Oh, the ticket came in and 4 minutes later, I met this SLA. I responded. This is paused for some reason, waiting for support. So it can be configured to not tick down unless certain conditions are met. In this case, because I'm in a waiting state, that's probably why. If I move this to in progress, though, I can expect this SLA to change. Maybe. Maybe not. Let's refresh the page. But SLAs can be configured to tick down under certain conditions or to pause. Again, you don't want to hold someone accountable for work if they're being held up. I'm waiting for an approval. That shouldn't necessarily count against my time. We want to know how long it takes, but I don't want to penalize Rob because, Jim over there didn't approve the ticket in time. Okay, reports. There's a lot of reports available in Jira. I think even since the screenshot was taken, they are all different. There's a bunch of out-of-the-box reports. I don't think admins can make new ones anymore, or if they can, it's in a new spot. So depending on how you're using Jira, you may have access to more or less reporting out of the box. In the context of our ACA-910 exam, we're looking, reports refer to a specific feature that I'll show you. So depending on your needs, there may or may not be useful reports. But in this case, report refers to a certain feature. There's something else called a dashboard, and that is something that you can go create, but that's not a report in the context of this exam. It might show you information and look like a report, but it's a different feature. So back on over. I'm going to go to my space, and I'm looking for reports. Oh, we still can make them in Jira Service Management. Awesome. So it looks like admins can make new ones, so what you see can differ. For the purpose of the ACA-910, we need to know what some of these do. So take some time to go dig around these, particularly the defaults. Requests deflected is a good one. This is just how many times did someone go to the portal and not put in a ticket. So they might have opened up the screen, and instead of hitting submit, they clicked on an article link instead. This is flat because I'm the only human in here and I haven't done any of this. But useful things, request resolved, just keeping an eye on, hey, how is the team doing on resolving them? And again, some information about the articles. So we'll see that show from time to time. That's the connection to Confluence and the knowledge base. The satisfaction report, this ties to that CSAT, customer satisfaction. So there may be a question on the exam around seeing how the trends go in here, and you can see all that on the customer satisfaction report. Again, dependent on there being information in your instance, I don't have too much. Let's see, SLA, I should have at least one. There we go. So this is not good news. I have breached the SLA twice. This just means I exceeded whatever the limit was. In these reports, you can click in. So I just clicked on this little dot, and now I can see the tickets that comprise that number too. So I can drill in and understand more about what's happening. And it looks like I breached this SLA by 6,000 hours. Yes, I am 6,164 hours past due. That's not good. All right, folks. Questions so far? We're trucking through Jira Service Management, talking about the ACA-910. Again, as a reminder, the QR code over my head will take you to a course bundle that includes both this, a recorded course for this, and the ACA-905, another exam. They are also retiring soon. There's a nice discount and sale on that just because it's going away. If you choose to go with that bundle, please make sure you go in and take them soon. It looks like a reporter and assignee were the same person. This can happen. And I think in this exact example you were referencing, Justin, that's what not necessarily the problem was. What Justin's referring to is the assignee and the reporter are the same human. This is also possible depending on the setup. Now, it's not good, bad, or otherwise. Depending on the work you do, you may want to ensure that it's different people. We can always reassign it just by finding the right person. This is only a problem for approvals. Will it? I'll have to dig into that. I don't think that's always necessarily true. If you want to follow that discussion, folks, join us over in Discord. I'll put a link to that here in the chat. That's where I go to do more in-depth explorations of things. And then a quick link to our course bundle, and then we will keep on trucking and talk about assets, which honestly scare me because I don't use them all that much. All right. An asset is anything you own, use, or manage. In the context of information technology, we usually assume that that's going to be the computers we have, the laptops, the desktops, whatever. It could also be people. We manage people. We want to keep track of who they report to and where they sit and all the stuff they have. It could be a physical building. It could be a component of a website or a piece of hardware. Again, anything that we want to track and that has some kind of attributes or information around them. Now, there's a term you'll see, configuration item. This term baffles me in one way. It's a single entity or a thing. It could be physical. Again, a laptop could be a configuration item. My phone could be one. It could be logical, a connection between systems, or conceptual, an idea or a process. These are all different things we can add to assets to configure and have different information about them. Laptops have serial numbers. Logical connections may have APIs or connections to other things. A process may have an owner, etc. Now, assets, at the time this course, or at the time this certification was created, were part of Jira Service Management. It was just part, like a module almost. Since then, it's been pulled out. So just keep aware if you're following along on your own or using this at work. Your assets is now an app. It's called a platform app, and it exists independently of Jira. So other groups can use assets without having to get JSM. For the purpose of the exam, it was the same system. You shouldn't notice any problems if you choose to take the exam. Just be aware practically they're different. Now, the advantage Jira Service Management has with them is it can relate and connect to assets. If I put in a request, I can indicate it's for my specific laptop. Then when an agent works on it, they can get information about my laptop, the last time it was serviced, the serial number, the key, the Windows key, whatever it is. And the relationship between that laptop and other things can also be tracked. So I can see over time, this specific laptop was first used by Rob, and then it was given to Rodney, and then it was given over to Justin, and then Kythra. So we can track the history of things. We can track how they relate. How does this one laptop connect to our server or other systems, all within the Assets app. Now, we can have custom assets. Again, we have different examples. You can have Apple Watches, you can have laptops, you can have people, buildings, cars, planes, whatever. But keep in mind, assets will have attributes. The name is an attribute. The serial number is an attribute. The model. And you can make up your own attributes. You know, there might be some, I think it always has to have a name, but the rest your admin can make up. So when you go into the assets module, which we'll do in a minute, you'll see assets that then have attributes, information about them that might be useful. Depending on what you're doing, you'll have different assets. Depending on the asset and what you're doing with it, you'll have different attributes you need to use. Those attributes can also be referenced and surfaced from requests. As for this exam, we don't have to be super experts in assets, mostly just aware that we can track assets and their relationships with things. this is visually showing me a bunch of assets. For example, I have Apple laptops. That somehow relates to Apple Watch models, and Apple Watches also relate to models. Here I've got supported devices, and monitors are a type of supported monitor, and supported monitors are a type of supported device. So I can visually see how these things kind of interrelate and connect. We'll continue to use this example of like IT hardware, just because for me it's easier to wrap my head around. But there can be different ones. Oh, excuse me. Now, attributes have a lot of other features. Just be aware that they can also work with automations, and they can have bulk importing of assets. So you don't have to go and type in a new laptop every time it comes in. There might be an integration that feeds it information, or even just a CSV upload of your assets. And you also have reporting. How many laptops do we have that have 16 gigs of memory? How many individuals work in this one building? How many different projectors do we have that use a particular bulb? Making up examples. But we can then report against this information or tie it into other systems to manage things. So to find assets now, we would go to the app switcher and look for assets, this guy. Again, this is a platform app, a separate application, so it'll open up here. All it means to be a platform app is it's accessible in other Atlassian platforms. AMS, yes, this is being recorded on my YouTube channel. So you can come back to this link. Make sure you like and subscribe. Just hit the little thumbs up and the subscribe button. But this will live there probably forever. I also think the recordings of the initial sessions that I did about a year ago for this exist. I'll see if I can dig those up while I'm talking. But this whole thing will be recorded for you with more information in the description. And again, that QR code at the top, if you want, you can purchase a course that contains all of this in more in-depth with more hands-on stuff. But I'll get a link to the old sessions if I can find them while I'm talking. Here we are in assets. Now there's a term schema. The schema is the collection of assets. So here I have different schemas, one about facilities. Maybe the one in facilities talks about buildings or fire extinguishers. Okay, great. Things facilities wants. Here's one about the people team. This one is all of my workers and what policies do they have. Here is this one I want. IT employee assets. Perfect. So this fits with the theme of information technology, but I can see it's organized in some way. There's a group for IT hardware, a group for hardware catalog, and I can also visualize it. So you may have a question on the exam around this thing called a schema graph. The only thing we have to know about this, there will be different things in the schema. The arrows just represent some kind of relationship. If I put my mouse over it, it says laptops are a type of supported laptop. Supported laptops are a type of supported device. And so, again, the arrow doesn't do anything in Jira other than visually show you these connect in some way. So it's not saying that, these two, one is owned by the other, that one impacts the other. It's just saying, hey, some admin made this connection that says all supported keyboards are also a type of supported device. So hopefully that'll help you out. I've got a link too for the other recorded sessions I've done. Another aimer. Oh, he's an object. Sorry. Aimer in this context probably refers to America, like North America. That's the shorthand. So this playlist in the chat will go to the original study sessions. I did these, all the decks I'm using now used to be 1 hour session. I'm going through them a little bit quick because I don't have to do the start and the end of them all. But that's another resource you have in addition to this one mega study session. So these are assets. Again, these can be connected to requests. When people put in a ticket, they can reference their laptop, and then we have information about them. For example, there is a schema for laptops. There are 34 unique laptops. Here is one of them. And this laptop has some amount of attributes, information about it. Its status is active. Its serial number is this. And here's what it is linked to. It is owned by Mitch. It is provided by Apple. It is a type of laptop. You're welcome. Glad you found that useful. And again, if you want to take this exam, you got to do it quick because it's being retired in June. I don't know when, though. All the website says is in June. It might be the end of the month. It might be tomorrow. I don't know. So these are assets. Again, a separate app at this point. For the purpose of our exam, know that we can track anything that we want to own, manage, or care about, and that they have attributes, a cost, a date, etc., that can differ by type of thing we're tracking. Okay, our next session is not August 1st. It is right now. All right, folks. I'm going to take another very quick break. I'll throw that banner back up there. I have to get some more water because I've been talking for now 3 hours straight. Or 3 hours today. I had a session before this, but I will be right back. Take a minute to stretch, take a minute to check your notes, but we will be back very soon. Check out the links around if you're super bored. Some great courses and other things on my site over at hean.tech/courses. And I will return in about 3 or 4 minutes, but don't hold me to that. Do I have... And I don't think I have anything. Oh, I do have one. Be right back. Oh, there we go. That only lasts 15 seconds, though. So I'll be back very soon. That did only last 15 seconds. That's annoying. Can I change the duration? Nope. All right, folks. Anyway, we are back. What is that one? Oh, timers. Okay. No questions while I was out. Amazing. Okay. What are we talking about in this one? The rest of our ITSM. Oh, this is the full review. All right. All right, folks. I'm going to spend a little bit of time now jumping back into Jira. Those were all the slides. It was 3 good chunks of concepts and ideas. I need to get rid of that banner because that is just going to endlessly scroll. There we go. So that was all the content. Like that last 2 hours was everything about the 910 that you might run into on the exam. I'm going to walk through some examples. Like I'll put in another ticket. We'll go through the whole life cycle. We'll probably wrap up a bit before the 3-hour block. I didn't know how long this would take, but we're now going to kind of start from the beginning. We're going to put in a ticket and just see what happens, or see where it goes. So thinking back to ITSM, right? Before we even begin using Jira, we'd be talking to our team. What do we need to support? What kind of things do we have to help you with? And so that's where we collect this feedback, we get all this information, and our team would work with our Jira admin. Oh no, it's tomorrow? Wow. Why is that not? Well, I'm glad I did this on the 1st. So I guess if folks want to take this exam, you can do it tomorrow. If folks want, reach out to me directly and I can help speed up your ability to get your exam voucher. Usually it gets sent to you after you finish my course. If you want to take it though, and you purchase the course, let me know and I'll speed up that process so you can take it. You then get 2 weeks, you get 10 days after tomorrow to take it. Okay, this is good. Good to know. So if anyone wants to earn the certification before it's gone, let me know directly and I'll help you out. I would be highly amused if a whole bunch of us can take it right before it expires. I already have it, so I can't do it again. But if you do want to earn it, let me know and I'll see how I can help make that happen. Okay. So think of ITSM, I'd be collecting feedback, I'd be going to the whole team, and then I would work with my admins to go in and configure Jira. That would include things like building the space, figuring out the request types. So, before we even start taking in tickets, a lot of work will be done to figure out what should we have in here. As an agent, I wouldn't really be involved with that. I might be helping get feedback or giving my own feedback, but it's up to my admins to configure all of this stuff to support people. And you'll see there's different types. I've got changes and incident reviews and unassigned, a whole bunch of different request types that we could use. My admin will also have built out some queues for me. Now, these queues will help me sort work as it comes in. So again, as an agent, I just have to know these queues exist, and they'll help me get all the information I need. But the life cycle of a ticket begins with a customer. They need help with something. And they will do that from one of the channels. So we've got email. They could send in an email. We got the portal. We're going to go with the portal again, because we get these portal groups. These portal groups are just collections of different requests that they could put in. Remember that each of these can exist in multiple portal groups. They don't only show up in one of them. So maybe I want to report a bug. As the customer, I'll go fill in fields. Some are required, some are optional. Entirely up to my admin. I might also, as I'm typing, get help desk articles that could prevent the need for me to put in the ticket, to deflect it. So they could go here, read the article, and then help. But eventually I'm going to get to a point where I need to submit a ticket. I need help with the blue button, whatever that is. And actually what we're seeing here, these are assets. The customer doesn't know this. They don't care what an asset is. This is an asset too. Where did it happen? So in this case, an asset was set up to track the instance where I'm developing something. I found the bug in development, and it happened in this particular browser. So I'll just put some information in. Now the customer's job is kind of done. They've submitted their ticket. They can come back here and comment and say, I need more information. They could read comments if there are any. They can also sometimes change the status if there's those two little arrows, but otherwise it's now up to the agent. The agent would go find this ticket. They would dig through the queue. Yes, thank you. That is, wow. That is a very not helpful box. Let's get rid of that. They would go into a queue, all open tickets, and find whatever ticket they need to work on. Here's my bug. They would then review the ticket and update it, click in the fields, change the impact severity, add whatever information they need to, and then move it through some kind of workflow. I'm researching this one. And again, this workflow will differ by work type. This is a bug, so it follows a particular workflow I can view right here. These are the series of steps that the bug will move through. And then different screens could pop up as I transition it. I don't know if I'll get any here. Nope. Oh, and I could complete it. Now on the front end, the customer will see the status. Keep in mind that the name of this status could be different for the customer. So your admin might have it say, instead of fix identified, like pending release or something else that makes more sense to the customer side. Customers can also share these so other people get updates, a manager, a teammate, someone else who's interested. But I, as the person working on it, will work on it. I also might have to contend with an SLA or service level agreement where I have a timer up at the top that tells me how much time do I have to resolve it, to respond or do something. So all that SLA ticking down. All of this also feeds into my reporting. So I have access to reports to help me track things like workload. How are we doing? I can see Alana has one thing in progress. I don't have any. But I can use the reports to keep tabs on what's happening. So that's kind of the whole life cycle. What other questions do y'all have? We burned through everything about that exam in about 2 hours and 15 minutes. I do have some tips and tricks on taking exams I'll go through. AMS, I don't think Atlassian will refresh exams from time to time. The ACP-910 and admin level certification was just refreshed, so they went through and redid it entirely. I think Atlassian took a look at this certification and said, you know what? We already have one for Jira Service Management agents. We don't need two. I'm making stuff up here. I don't know for sure. So maybe we'll get rid of this ITSM one. Now, it does say on their site, I believe, and I'll share this as I transition to talking about how to take an exam. If we go under learning and we go under credentials. All right, Justin, thank you for your show of support. Sign up for that exam like right now. Or yeah, maybe I'll change. I'll just have to keep an eye on who signs up for it, but I got to update the website. I'll make sure you get your voucher though. Scroll down here is associate, and it's this one. They do say a certificate will replace it, ASM, or AMS, excuse me. So there will be a free certificate coming up. Don't know when or what it's about. So they might be taking out this bit and just having ITSM, or they might have looked at all the certifications they have and saying, hey, we want a more accessible version of the Jira Service Management Agent. I don't know. But I don't think it's because of the terminology change. Like we've seen a lot of term changes and they haven't been retiring certifications. Okay, if you choose to take a certification, typically, it's $100. They're retiring it tomorrow. My course bundle includes a promotion code for it. So you can get it for $30 or $45 for both. You got to sign up by tomorrow, apparently. But you then go in and schedule your exam. Now, for this example, because we're on this crunch timeline, you got to do it. You got to take the exam by the 12th. We would go to under schedule and take exams under Certiverse. Certiverse is the platform Atlassian uses to deliver certifications. There's important information here, like what do you need, a driver's license, etc. But I'll just click Access Certiverse. They only have dark mode. I asked them about this. It's all I got. I'll go to exams and I'll just type in that 910, 910. Aha. And here's where Justin, thank you for that again, found the information. So again, if you want to take this, you have to do it by tomorrow. If you want to take it, I'd recommend signing up today, because I don't know if this means, it stops at midnight tonight, at midnight tomorrow, what time zone. So if you are curious in this exam, make sure you book it as soon as you can. Reach out to me if you want any help with that. But here's all the information about it. I would just click Get Started. I don't know how far I can go down this because I already earned this exam. You'll have a system compatibility check. All the exams today are self-proctored. So you'll have to have, in my words, a sterile environment, a room without anything on your desk, on the walls. No one can interrupt you while you're taking the exam. So that's something I'm very clear with, like my family. Like I need an hour, 2 hours, and an empty room, basically. This can be challenging. I use it as an excuse to clean up my office. There is stuff all over the place. But when you start the exam, someone will be watching through your camera, listening through your microphone, just to make sure you aren't cheating. We'll click next. I'll fill in all of this information, and then you'll be able to see when you can do it. So you'll see it stops on the 12th, and it looks like the last slot is 5 p.m. But you can pick the day and time that works best for you. let's say 10:30. And then you'll provide payment. Now, if you go through one of my courses, you'll have a promo code that goes in here, right here. Not a voucher code. It's a promo code that'll get you in. Oh, employee, what is this? Oh, interesting. Many organizations also provide some kind of stipend for learning. If yours does, definitely keep your receipt. But this is how we can continue. I can't go past here because I don't have one of these, but this is true for every exam. Now, when you're taking the exam, you're going to get a series of questions. And I think you need a 72% to pass. You'll get up to 30 questions presented. So you got to get 22 out of 30 right, something like that, or 23. You'll get one question at a time. There will be the question, and there'll be 4 possible answers. 3 of those are wrong. They're called distractors. There's no gotcha questions. Nothing will be made up. It'll all be legitimate stuff, but you will have to know ITSM or Jira or what an automation can do in order to answer them. When you're looking at the questions, I'll go into Atlassian Learning and find some, just like an example of questions. This one, sure. That's true or false. I don't want that. I meant to say false. There you go. Pretend this isn't multiple choice. There are no multiple choice questions. They're all single select. You'll have 4 options. Read the question and look for keywords. Look for something like transition or workflow or SLA, anything that stands out, because that's a clue, that's information about what the answers are. Then look at the answers and see if you can eliminate any. So reading the question, maybe there's no way, it can't be this one. Now if you have to guess, there's only 2 you have to guess, or 3. So take some time to really read the question and trust your first instinct. If I don't know for sure, I'll look at it. That's the answer. And you can flag it for review. There's a button to flag it. Ideally no, Kythra. I take it in a room and I lock my cats out just to make sure. I'll double check about animals, like pets. I know that like if a kid walks through, that's a no-go. So I have to make sure my family is like at school or whatever. I don't know about animals though, non-human family members. But if you can eliminate answers, go through that. You can also mark a question for review so you can come back to it later. I do that a lot. If I'm not sure, I'll take my best guess. Always put some answer just in case you run out of time, but you can always come back to it and look at it later. So I'll go through every question. Sometimes a question will jog your memory or help you guess on something. So don't be surprised if you go back later, like, wait a minute, the questions are similar. They won't give you the answers, but you might just spark some memory you have. At the end of it, you'll click done. It'll say, well, you marked these questions for review. Are you sure you want to finish? If you've marked them for review, always go review them. If you have extra time when you think you're done, pick 10 random questions and double check. I go through these very fast. I have to force myself to slow down. One of the ways I do that is I randomly sample questions. I'll grab 6 or 7 at random and just go, am I sure that's right? I try not to second guess myself too much, but take time to go through and review. Again, you need 22 or 23 correct out of 30 to pass. And because you have to sign up by tomorrow, I don't think it'd be possible to retake this. So we want to be as successful as we can. But you'll get up to 30 questions. Take your time on each one. Eliminate the things you think are wrong. That sounded like a car crash. Exciting. Take the time to eliminate the ones you know are wrong and mark them for review so you can check on them later. At the end, you'll hit done, and there's a moment of heart-stopping panic when you don't know what's going to happen, and it'll tell you if you pass or fail. So you'll know right away how you did. Your feedback will not include which specific questions you got right or wrong, but more generally, it'll say something like, there's only 2 domains, ITSM and JSM. So it'll say you got 40% of one and 100% of the other or something. So just a general indication of where you can keep learning or where you can keep expanding. All right, folks. That was the entire body of work for the ITSM with Jira Foundations certification. Whew, that was a ton of talking. Again, the QR code up top will get you to that course bundle. That includes promotion codes to take the exam. If you do it, you have to sign up by tomorrow, apparently. I'm glad we found that out. If you do sign up for those courses, please email me. I'll try and keep an eye out on folks who have it and just let them know you've got to do it by tomorrow. And I'll pull out some stops and help you get that done. And you have to take the exam by the 12th. So you get about 10 days. If you want to do it and you're concerned, reach out to me. I can put together like a Zoom study hall for folks. So more resources, more time to help us nail this thing down. I would absolutely love if a bunch of us could earn it though, right at the end. Yeah, that'd be fun. Anyway, folks, a couple selfish things. Please like and subscribe. I need your support. I'm a independent creator. I do this professionally. I'll keep providing as much knowledge and information as I can, but would appreciate a thumbs up and all that. I've also got a feedback form on my sessions. I will put a link in the chat. It goes to an anonymous Google form. I would love to know what you thought of this, what else I can do better, how I can improve learning. You can also find me on LinkedIn. I'll put a link in the chat, and you can find me over on Discord and WhatsApp. If you want to keep learning together, but just be on the lookout. I'll keep doing more of these. I've got a 3-hour session on Friday for the ACA-910, another certification they're retiring. I've got another learning session today at 2 p.m. with the folks on the Jira Life about this Confluence admin exam. And then I've got a webinar around governance on Thursday at 7 a.m. So chatting with my friends over from AppFox around what governance is and how they can help you with that. I do want to thank y'all. This has been fun. It's been about 2.5 hours of talking about ITSM and Jira, and about 15 folks stuck with me most of the time. So yeah, thank you for trusting me with 2.5 hours of your life. For those of you who stuck around, for those of you who want to earn it, please reach out. Let me know how I can support you, and have a great day wherever you are. I'm going to log off for now, but you'll see me again, I think tomorrow, if not sooner. Justin, you're welcome. Also shout out to Justin. He's one of my channel members. YouTube has channel memberships, so it's one way you can support me. I'll put a link to that as well in case anyone's interested. I'm glad you found it useful, Justin. And if I don't reach out to you in the next 10 minutes or so, let me know, and I'll hook you up with your voucher code just so you can get your exam. Nicola, you're very welcome. Susan, always good to see you, my friend. Hope you found it useful. Jonathan, glad you're with us. And I'm going to give my voice a rest before I have to jump on another call. So, folks, I'm going to tee up that amazing outro. I got to go find it. I got to set the right one. Here we go. Again, my friend Sajit from Are You Smarter Than a Jira Admin and QuizWiz put it together. So a huge shout out to him. Anyway, folks, have a great day.
Systems shouldn't get in our way. They should help us do our job. But learning those tools can feel heavier than it should. Too many topics, too many best practices. Especially in the ever-changing Atlassian ecosystem. Not here. You're tuned in to the only frequency that doesn't crash your spirits or your Jira board. Atlassian Learning Simplified. Welcome to Hean.tech. Hean.tech for your learning needs. Hean.tech. Less noise, more clarity. Hean.tech. Fix the system, fix the flow. Hean.tech. Ready, let's go!